Hello, and welcome back to Therapist Plays Disco Elysium. On today's episode, I think this might be my favorite moment of the entire game so far. It's day 3, we've just crossed the waterlock, and we've discovered a moment that connects us to our past in both surprising and uncomfortable ways, but that also lead us to some very therapeutic insights and a bit more closeness with our companion, Kin Kitsuragi. Today's analysis is all about empathy and how important that is for bringing people closer together and how necessary it is for our own character's healing journey. I'm really excited to share this moment with you all, so let's get into it. Okay, welcome back. It's been a little while. So thank you, first of all, for being so patient. I had a really busy week last week, and then also my microphone broke and I was having some issues, so I haven't been able to record. And I also want to say thank you very much for all of the help figuring out what to do. I saw that there's like a couple of different things we can still do this side of Martinez. But I think it would be a good idea to go across the bridge now, which it's not super obvious that this is how you do it, but yeah. Let's just say I'm not the most deceptive
indicator lights
or perceptive
from
cop.
this control panel. Loose wires dangle from the now vacant holes. In the middle is a lever. Beneath it, a small metal plaque.
Let's pull the lever. Yeah, I'm not the most perceptive detective. Which we know by now due to my very terrible skills in, well, visual calculus. So checks out.
You grab the handle and pull the lever up. As soon as the metal connects against the contact pins, you hear a loud clunk. Then the water lock starts moving.
All right, I'm ready to meet some new characters. Like giving some cabin fever on this side of the harbor.
Okay, if we ever need to get to the coast, then this is the way. But please, contain your wanderlust for now. I don't want us to get sidetracked, not with everything that's going on.
Yeah, Kim is the real antagonist in this game.
Focus on one thing, achieve it, then the next, he thinks. That's the task change.
He's the antagonist to my whimsical desires. I gotta do it, Kim. I gotta do it. I have to do it actually for the case. I don't think there's really much more I can do. I mean, I know I can do this thing with Titus, but I gotta level up first. I failed all my checks. Look, Kim, you know you want to go exploring as well. Kim is like... I feel like the two of us are like Calvin and Hobbes a little bit. Does anyone else get that vibe? Like, Calvin is... the very imaginative, very like... impulsive, very opinionated, also very like critical about why is this like that? Why are these rules like this? But he's also very smart. He's also very emotional and sensitive. And then you have Hobbes, who's a little more like level-headed, but also has this like inner child that he doesn't really attend to. You can tell. It kind of like moderates Calvin's behavior, but he also goes along with everything. Like, he's often like, that's not a good idea. Like, don't mess with Susie or whatever. But he goes along with it anyways. And I feel like that's Kim. And he's even orange. This is just Calvin and Hobbes, drug detective. Radio delay hums with electricity. Okay, let's check this out. I'm pretty excited to see what's on the other side here. Also give us some new avenues to make some cash. Should. What do we got? Traffic beyond the gate. More abandoned motor lorries. Ah, some magnesium. I think we're gonna have to pump that magnesium right now. Our morale is at a critical level. Empathy glasses. Jamrock Biker Cup Sunnies. That's pretty cool. It's gonna impair some of our logic. I'm okay with that. Okay with that. What's -1 to 0? Empathy is still a valuable resource because I feel like empathy is the skill that's gonna get us out of our... Right now we're in a delusional compensatory behavior arc. So compensatory behavior is often our reaction to stress or anxiety or a defense mechanism. Like when you're trying to understand if someone has like an anxiety disorder or something, like you look at their behaviors and... Oh, maybe there's something inside. You look at like the stuff that they do, okay? So like procrastination is a compensatory behavior. It's compensating. You're feeling anxious about the anticipation of a task or how difficult it's going to be or if you're going to be able to do it. And so you compensate by like avoiding it, right? So our character's compensatory behavior is like all of this shit. Like leaning hard into the like, I'm a superstar cop. Nobody can touch me. I don't need anybody. Like that's all, it's all compensation. Because like facing the reality gives us too much anxiety right now. But we'll get back to it. We're on a delusional arc. And it's being amplified and fueled by just finding random bits of cash. Frozen booze. Looks like we got is this a crime scene? No, it's not a crime scene.
A banged-up motor carriage lies half submerged in the icy water, slowly sinking into the Insulindian Ocean. Only the cabin top, rear wheels, and the engine remain visible.
I guess if you call environmental decay a crime scene, with humanity being the perpetrator, this technically is a crime scene, and so is everything in the world.
It must be cold and lonely down there, in the icy water.
A carriage in the sea. Where did this come from?
My guess is it started its journey from the plaza, where it backed through the fence.
Let's investigate, Kim.
I agree. We should definitely investigate.
You get a sudden, sinking feeling. Stomach acid comes up as you look at the motor carriage in the deep, dark, cold water. Why the doom and gloom? It's just a sunken motor carriage. Some motor carriages are bound to end up in the sea.
Well, we know Kim has a quite an interest in motor carriages. Let's get some contact on that thing.
The motor carriage is properly stuck in the ice. Getting it out would require a team of specialists.
I'm a specialist. What's the make of this MC?
The logo is too deep in the murky water. You can't make it out, but you do see a monkfish float by.
Ah, the monkfish.
The ice hasn't closed around the vehicle yet. My guess is it's been here since last Saturday or Sunday.
What should we
Let's
do?
wait for the low tide and see what's inside.
How long will it take?
I don't know. An hour or two, tops?
Okay, so yeah, we'll have to wait for the low tide. Sit on the swing and wait for the tide to recede. Oh, okay, we don't actually have to wait. We'll pass an hour by.
As you sit down in the old, rusty playground, the
Aw.
world around you becomes very silent.
They are so Calvin and Hobbes! Sitting on the swing like two little boys who never got to be children.
Nothing but the sound of seagulls high above in the sky, echoing like distant laughter. Ice cracks around the blue motor carriage in the sea.
Ah, it's so emotional. Whistle a tune, red check, it cannot be retried. Fuck, okay. Do I have any clothes I can wear to... any drama clothes? I want to do this. I don't know if I can return to it. Let's just point at it.
Yes, yes, it does.
What's your favorite blue thing? Oh, this is such a great moment.
Let me think about it.
I'm gonna wait in silence. I sometimes filling the space with conversation is its own compensation for a fear to just be alone with someone or with yourself. And so we are constantly talking. We feel like we have to be saying something. Sometimes silence is beautiful and also therapeutic.
It's impossible to say if it's happening, if the water is receding. All you feel is a lot of time going by.
Years off of my life right now, getting to relive my childhood with Kim.
The clouds pass in the sky, and the shadow of the swing moves like the hour hand on a timepiece. 30 minutes have passed. Looks like this might take a while. Time to present a good topic for discussion.
Oh, I was not expecting this random sunken motor carriage to lead to such insightful connection between myself and Kim right now. And Kim didn't want to go exploring. He didn't want to go exploring his life and emotions. We're not going to ask him this because that sounds kind of mean. Would you rather sit on an anthill for an hour or stand in a river of leeches? I mean, that's not a very insightful question either, but this is just sort of small talk. My rhetoric at least chimed in here. My intellectual discourse. If my rhetoric wasn't good enough, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Let's just ask him about the leeches. That sounds like a very This is like a Calvin and Hobbes scene. This is literally like some shit that Calvin would say to Hobbes.
Well, historically, leeches have been used to prevent and even cure many ailments.
And that's like a very Hobbesy response, like an intellectual comment.
Clouds on the horizon grow darker, and the shadow of the swing set keeps climbing. You hear the distant rumble of the city. 30 minutes pass.
If you have to side with either the strikers or the shipping company, who would you choose? Do you think I'll ever find my gun? Let's get a little serious here.
God, I hope so.
I've been thinking, if I put enough time into eating right and exercising, I could turn myself into a living weapon. Then I wouldn't even need a gun. I don't think I'm ever going to find my gun. The world is so big and my gun is so small. Okay, we are in our compensatory delusional arc. But Kim is probably the one person who we know doesn't buy into that either. Like we're not compensating to Kim. It's really more to ourselves, I think. Um I don't know. I can't pass up this genuine moment for connection. I'll take it seriously.
Your voice echoes on the water, strange and out of place in the environment. 30 more minutes pass.
Man, we're really taking our time here. This is like almost half of the whole day. Can you make out the mark now?
Detective, I've been able to make out the mark ever since we arrived. I find it odd that you haven't. It's a Capri, Model 40.
Have you seen my visual calculus, Kim?
It is a simple and rugged machine, favored by working men, government offices, firefighters, animal control people, you know, those kinds of people.
Is that a number on the side?
Yes, 41. What do you think it stands for?
Wait a second. 41? Isn't that the precinct that we're from? Is this fucking my car? I hate guessing. District something, a precinct, something municipal. Rub your temples. You're getting a horrible headache.
A precinct, yes. A police precinct. Precinct 41, your precinct.
What is happening?
A massive pit opens up in your stomach, and the most terrible feeling comes over you. You feel like you're about to faint and fall off the swing. Your hands get clammy, and the air tastes sour to breathe. Oh God, Harry. Oh God,
No
Harry.
way.
What did you do?
Kim knew this was my car. So he's been sitting here for like more than an hour, just letting the time pass until I discovered this. So that I could have my own thoughts about it.
No. Just no. Say no to this, Harry.
Oh my God, it's mine. I drove my car into the sea.
I'm afraid so, yes. It looks like you drove your police motor carriage into the sea after you jumped across the canal.
Good thing we pumped up some of that magnesium. Look, I was gonna go on a Sorry Cop rejection tour, a super cop, but this is so confronting to our identity. This is like this is the thing that's pulling me right out of the delusional compensatory reality that I'm like an amazing cop, because I'm faced with the fact that like no, I'm actually a broken person. Like I am so critically bad at everything. I lost my gun, I lost my badge, and no one likes me. I'm not good at my job. I'm fucking easily deceived and fooled and shamed and embarrassed. And I've probably hurt lots of people, including myself. And I may have even tried to fucking drive into the sea. I can't help it. I cannot help but do the rigorous self-critique. Guys, I can't do it. I'm not a super cop. I'm just not. I'm not built for that shit. I'm not like I cannot help but rigorously self-critique myself. I know it's not, you know, the most confident presenting thing about our character, but this just aligns with my personal values and therapeutic values as well. That facing these things is better than denying them. Like, yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's confronting. Yes, it makes us generally feel worse about who we are. But it also gives us potential to discover a better part of ourselves with proper healing and integration from this. There is no potential for that when you're compensating and you're denying, and you're acting in greater confidence when you're actually not, right? I had planned to go on like a super cop Johnny Super Cop binge for like a good portion of the game, but narratively, I don't know if I can justify that after this. Not only is this like such a huge, undeniable like artifact of the clear problems with who we are that we are still trying to uh, face within ourselves, but the way that this was done to me through the game is perfect. And it's almost exactly like part of the goal of a lot of therapy, which is it's not helpful often for a therapist to like interpret something for you and to say that like if Kim showed up here, I know he's not my therapist, but I'm just making a parallel. Um, that self-discovery is better than like external interpretation for this kind of thing. Like if we were to show up here and Kim were to say, like, as soon as we got here, oh, that's your car. You drove it in, right? Like I'm essentially learning because of his insight secondhand what happened. But he just fucking sat with me here. He let me just like sit with my thoughts until I realized it. And now the discovery, the insight is mine. It's in my own possession. It didn't come from him. It wasn't forced on me. I wasn't even really led to it. He just was patient with me and understanding and not critical, just and not overly analytical either, just like there. And there's sometimes where I do long therapy sessions where there's a lot of back and forth, but sometimes the most powerful therapy sessions I've ever been in are the ones where I don't say shit. And just being present with someone as they discover something important about themselves that they will only have arrived to because of your presence and the context of you being there and working on something, and maybe you've prompted them just a few times to get them there. But that moment of self-discovery and self-insight is so powerful. And it's what I'm feeling right now as fucking Drowning Disco. I can't do it, guys. I'm a fucking sorry cop. I've always been a sorry cop. This was a beautiful scene. This might be my favorite scene so far. Just the fucking music, the pace that this went at, and this has given me such a like warm feeling about Kim. I know I just called him the antagonist, but that's the duality. It's a duality of Calvin and Hobbes, right? They're not going to take me back after this, are they? Yes, this feels appropriate.
People are more valuable than machines. Training a police officer is even more costly.
Okay, Kim is actually a saint.
People, yes, but not you.
God damn it. Why are we like this? Why can we not just hear something good? Why do we have to immediately discount that? Which is what real people do all the time. I do this. Someone will tell me you did a great job, and my immediate thought is like, yeah, you just don't know I'm actually terrible at this. It's just like, why do we do that? I don't know. The badge, the gun, now this.
The lieutenant adjusts his glasses and doesn't say anything. There is also a fourth thing you've lost.
A fourth thing?
More precious than the gun, the badge, and the motor carriage combined. Lost forever into the deepest of seas.
God damn it. I can still fix it.
That is very unlikely. All the electrics are toast. That goes for the electromagnetic steering and brake systems as well. You'd be lucky to find one undamaged component in there. In a few months, there will be nothing but rust left of this vehicle. It'll be cheaper to buy a new one. Well, not cheaper. This motor carriage costs 40,000 real. But in the long run, it still makes more sense to buy a new machine than try to refurbish this.
People are going to be angry at me, aren't they? In Precinct 41. Yeah, this makes the most sense to me. Our character right now is so vulnerable. Like, the whole compensating to become the super cop is just a distraction that points to the fact that after the whole Klasia compromise moment, Our ego is more fragile and unprotected than it has ever been because we feel like everything is a threat to us. Our own thoughts, like the way Half-Light chimed in right there is so realistic, like to the way people are, that people who are not always in full confidence of themselves second guess things and discount comments of people we trust, um, with self criticism. Like, we're such a vulnerable person right now. And the thing that we're concerned the most about is like people being angry with us. Yeah. Like, not being accepted, being so fucking broken and bad that we've done so many bad things that we'll never belong to anything again.
Let's face it, this is a substantial loss to your district's budget. I mean, my station only has 4 other vehicles in addition to my kinema.
How do we get it out?
Detective, we don't. A rescue operation really isn't viable at this point.
So it's just gonna be there like that.
I'm afraid it will have to be there like that for many years. Look at it. Parts of it might be salvageable, but overall, this machine is a write-off.
Maybe I was in pursuit of anyone. This is such a cope, but
Of whom? I don't think so. If anything, you were probably drunk.
Probably. Try definitely.
I hate you. I hate you, electrochemistry. At least I can see what's in there now. Fuck, man. I didn't expect to have
Yes.
an existential
Let's go take a
crisis
look.
this morning.
Motorway south. The lone vector stretches in your mind's eye into the wild pale yonder, for an unimaginable distance, forgetting, until you can no longer remember anything. No cities, no mountains, no oceans, and finally, no vector. Nothing remains. A blank space with no point of reference, where only one type of motion is possible. The motion of a human throat, swallow in, and then it comes to you. To reach the end of the motorway south is to be unborn. You've had this thought before, while aimlessly wandering the streets of Jamrock. A lost piece of the man you were. A dark hope.
This fucking game has... it has no right to be written this well. I mean, it does have that right. It's just shocking. It's shocking at times, just like the prosaic quality of simple shit like this. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. At the edge of the map, the landmass begins to disintegrate into pure trigonometry. The ocean melts, becoming a tangle of sines and cosines. The mountain range turns into a sharp-angled azimuth. Its green range shadow dithers like music turning into a waveform, and then vanishes. This is the end, a half-remembered textbook from your childhood. The porch collapsing on the edge of the Isola, a transition from reality to pale. A single vector shoots out like a rocket. It's the motorway south, splintering off from the known pale. To where? Where does it go? This is actually something oh, okay. I was just getting the solution now. I was thinking about this already. Oh, jeez. So that's giving me more to my inland empire. Interesting. My badge. My fucking badge. My coat. Fuel canister. A younger version of you, already disintegrating inside, but still presentable on the outside. Oh my god. We look so normal.
A police badge on which you see the photo of a man. You. Some seaweed is stuck to the back.
And my badge.
At least something good came out of all this.
Kim, more good came out of this than you could ever know.
Encased between two durable plastic sheets is a bluish card with lines of information and a watermark in the shape of the street grid of Revachol West. You see a photo, a name, a rank, a document number, the date of issue, and, in the lower right corner, your precinct.
Look at the photo.
The man keeps winking at you with his green-grey eyes. The photo is old, no doubt about that. Good choice. A newer photo would look different.
How old?
8, maybe 10 years. The guy in the picture is rather good looking. He's got a nice haircut and is distinctly lacking in massive sideburns.
He's winking. Why?
What do you think? His face is already contorted by the expression, although it looks less grotesque on him than it does on you now.
How do we get lost?
It looks better on him because he isn't in as much pain while producing it as you are now. Although there's already a hint of that pain, certainly. Don't be fooled. The bad times have already begun. The badge in your hand shines as you rotate it, catching light. You see lines of information on it, and a shining watermark.
Harrier Dubois.
Harrier, that's long for Harry. So you are Harry. Evrard was half right. Probably not a lot of people know your full name. Whoever told him you're Harry Dubois didn't.
That's good detective work, Kim. Strange. It doesn't say Raphael Ambrosius Cousteau.
Not strange at all. Your name is Harrier Dubois, like it says on your police badge.
What kind of name? No, we'll just accept it. I kind of wish that I would have waited until now to accept this.
Pleased to make your acquaintance, Harrier Dubois.
Thank you, Kim.
He's not going to call you Harrier. He'll keep calling you officer when he's angry with you, and detective when he's not.
This also comes after several moments recently where like we've kind of stumbled with Kim, and I've been kind of worried that like we've been saying shit to him and doing things that have actually distanced us from him or made him think less of us, which also drove us even deeper into the whole like, well, fuck you then, I don't need anybody, I'm the super cop. But then to find this moment of like extreme just empathy and patience with us, and just the way he is with us right now is very non-judgmental about the car, about our name, about our badge, about our gun. Like the non-judgmentalness side of him to us right now is like, it's holding the space for us to like allow ourselves to receive this information without our own judgment, because that's essentially what the benefit of talking to someone who is empathetic towards you is, right? Again, Kim's not a therapist, but the way he's acting right now is very much like my mission when I'm working with someone who is in this process of self-discovery, who is confronted by something about themselves that they are very uncomfortable with, and being present with them and you discovering with them the information that is confronting to them and you being non-judgmental about it. Like if a client were to share with me a deeply shameful trauma and my reaction to it is to be very non-judgmental, what that does is it holds the space for them to explore the feeling with your reaction as the standard, right? Which is to not suddenly become overwhelmed with criticism about it and letting me develop my interpretation of it with a non-judgmental presence is so helpful, so healing, so powerful. And that's essentially what Kim is doing right now. Like, he is actually the fucking therapist he doesn't know he is. He's just a good person.
The badge in your hands shines as you rotate it, catching light. You see lines of information.
Rank?
Lieutenant W. Freighter.
What is a Lieutenant W. Freighter?
The lieutenant is a rank above sergeant and below captain. It's the highest rank in the RCM that still does field work. I am a lieutenant.
And W. Freighter?
The title of Freighter is added to your rank when you decline a promotion to a higher rank. In your case, captain. You have declined twice, thus you're W. Freighter.
Decline?
There are many reasons one would do this. The rank above you in your precinct's décomptage might be taken, or sometimes promoted officers do not want to replace their superiors out of respect. And sometimes they just prefer the type of police work available to their current rank, in your case, lieutenant.
So maybe we stayed just because we like being a cop?
Heavy-duty case-solving machine.
Are we actually a good cop? What's a décomptage?
Décomptage is the hierarchical system employed by the Revachol Citizens Militia. It means counting down to twos. The lowest rank is junior officer, usually teenagers. Then there are the patrol officers, then sergeants, lieutenants, and then a captain. That's basically it, except for a few kings. Kings like satellite officers and the additionally a freighter rank I already explained.
The long and short of it is, you're his superior.
One thing that is very interesting to me about this piece of information specifically is many times the information we've discovered about ourselves has been quite negative. It's like, you lost your badge, you lost your gun, you said some rude shit to somebody, you were inconsiderate, you were drunk, you weren't respected, all these things. And what we've just discovered now, again, only because we have a non-judgmental, empathetic person just holding that space for us, because he's just giving information. He's not giving his interpretation. He just is telling us very non-judgmentally that we didn't take a promotion despite being able to, for we don't know exactly why, but it was either because we, out of respect for our superior, or because we like what we're doing. This is the first time I can remember that we have learned something about our past self that is actually values driven. That isn't like some fucked up shit we did before or some bad thing, but it's actually like a deliberate choice that we made for some sort of purpose that tells us the person we used to be had some kind of principles that they stuck to. And discovering that is like the first stage for me of like not hating who we used to be and thinking, okay, there maybe was something to this guy. Maybe not everything is worth forgetting. Satellite officers.
You are given the title of satellite officer if your partner is quickly promoted through the ranks and you rise with him. You don't seem to be a satellite.
So you've been putting up with all my bullshit because I'm your superior. I don't think so. You've been putting up with me because we're of the same rank. A prior version of us would be very untrusting, but over the course of 30 hours, and especially this moment, Kim has shown us that, yeah, he is the person he said he would be. And I know a lot of people didn't like how initially untrusting I was of Kim, but like that's part of the role play. It's part of my character not really having any information about himself and only having fragmented memories, much of which are largely negative. And so, like, it felt natural to me to not really be sure about these two ideas. Like, is he just putting up with me because he has to? Or is what he presents himself as, like the sympathetic person, genuine? At the beginning of the game, these are the questions that we had on our mind. We didn't know he was our superior. We didn't know we were his superior at the time. But at this point, at this stage, I think we can pretty comfortably say he's not just putting up with us because of rank. He is very principled and duty bound, but he's also just a good person. And I think this whole saga and this moment especially would have been so much less interesting and impacting to me and also the character if I'd been on the Kim is my best friend train since the very beginning. Thank you for explaining all of this.
My pleasure.
Okay. Thank you, Kim.
Such a small yet precious thing. Expensive paper caught between thick plastic, like a fly in amber. It reads.
Serial number.
That's just the serial number. Revachol, Jamrock, Precinct 41, with some numbers thrown in there for good measure.
Date of issue.
4 months ago. I'm guessing that's when you were promoted to the rank of Lieutenant W. Freighter. A new badge usually comes with a new rank. You seem to have been doing well then.
So 4 months ago is when we looked like that. So a lot of this major trauma is quite recent then. Like Pain Threshold was saying, there's issues there in the photo, but the real changes have been quite recent.
The pain in your chest tells you you were working yourself to death to earn that rank.
Okay.
The case created a lot of edge you have to take off. The death march really gets us going. A lot can happen in 4 months, especially in winter. The winters are never easy on you.
That's very true.
I remember that time. That was a good time. We had a good work-drink balance going. What happened, man? Pump it up!
Okay, I know people like that tie, but I really don't like the tie. Its interjections have never been really insightful or even really funny. And I think that they are just they're a character that belongs to the part of our mind that's delusional and is encouraged to engage in the like compensatory alcoholism and avoidance.
Yes, it's the designation of your precinct. 41, like mine says 57. The 57th is mostly industrial harbor, a lot of asphalt. The 41st it's a tough station to work in. You have all of Jamrock to cover. That district should have 3 precincts, but money is what it is.
Money, huh? So this is all about money in the end. It always is.
It's no wonder you are like you are, he thinks. But then again, it's a legendary district, and a hell of a station too. It must be an honor and a curse to work with people like Price, McCoy, Berdiaeva. he knew all those people, although they're not from his station. They must be big. And you? Is it an honor to work with you? Don't ask him, ask yourself. The badge in your hand shines as you rotate it, catching light. You see lines of information on it, and a shining watermark.
Holy shit. I think this might be my favorite scene in the whole game so far. Just this whole thing we just went through. I want to briefly talk about empathy. Him showed us a lot of empathy just now. And he shows us a lot of empathy. And empathy is one of those things that like you kind of have an intuitive grasp on what it is, but I also feel like we don't always know exactly when we're feeling it or when we're getting it, right? Because empathy is not your capacity to understand someone else like we often think it is, right? I can have a capacity to understand and choose not to understand them. There are many people in the world who have the capacity to understand those less fortunate than them, those with less opportunities. Like they are not missing something fundamental that allows them to interpret the world from their perspective and say, I wish things were better for you. How can I help? Like we all have well, not all of us, people's empathy can be impaired, but generally we have a capacity to understand. Empathy is a willingness to understand. Because you cannot exercise that willingness if you don't want to, or if you are perhaps starved of empathy yourself, right? It's our willingness to understand, because if someone takes something from me, you know, it's my willingness to understand to say maybe they're in need of that thing and I'm not in need of it, and maybe their situation, you know, is complex and this is something they need to do to survive, whatever. It's that willingness to understand their perspective. But that willingness erodes when something like that is repeated. Like if a friend were to steal something from me multiple times and apologize and then continue to do it, right? Like our empathy degrades. Our willingness to understand, not our capacity. I can continue to understand. My capacity to understand that would tell me, oh, well, then they're just self-centered and they don't care. That's not empathy. It's my willingness to use this perspective to understand you. Everett Clare has a capacity to understand the side that he opposes. Joyce has a capacity to understand why the mercenaries did what they did. We have a capacity to understand why Titus Hardy and the Hardy gang did what they did. But do we always have a willingness to understand them? Are we willing to understand the economic and societal conditions that would drive the Hardy boys to take the kind of action that they don't feel like the RCM would? To override the legal structure and just follow their own morals. We don't have a willingness to understand that. We have capacity. So I'd make that distinction because I feel like it is important for understanding like why many of the dynamics in this game and also just in society are the way they are. We can be very confused and I think disheartened when we look out into the world and say, what is wrong with people? Why don't people help each other? Can they not feel this like ability to understand that if you can help someone, then you should? But it's not really about that. It's our willingness to understand that is in trouble. And I feel like part of what makes that willingness improve is when it's afforded to you, right? Empathy is a very recursive thing. When someone is very empathetic towards me and does something for me or does something like Kim has done, right? And just is like, gives me that willingness to understand, I have a natural urge to return that willingness. Like, this is why my perspective on Kim has changed over time, because his willingness to understand my situation gives me also a willingness to understand, like, okay, you know, the world he's grown up in and what he's had to face in terms of prejudice and just the way he's been brought up. I may not be able to fully get his worldview. I didn't grow up like him, let's say, as Harrier. I don't actually need a capacity to understand his life. All I need is a willingness to do it. And that can bring us closer together, and that can establish the kind of like tangible kindness that is just missing. It's just missing from a lot of people and the world in general. So empathy is a very tricky thing. What makes it so sad is that we all do have generally a capacity to understand, and we just choose not to. We choose not to having willingness to exercise it. But Kim was willing to do that for us. He's willing to do it for us despite how much of a problem we are, which is what makes him such a great fucking companion. That after all the stuff we put him through and how fucked up of a person we were, that in a sense he has more of a willingness to understand us than we have of our own self. And him holding the space for that, like, it leads to us affording ourselves our own kindness and our own willingness to understand, you know, you used to be an okay person, and potentially there's a way for you to be again. Part of Harry's struggle was not having that willingness to understand himself, just rejecting it or being very critical of it. And I feel like that's finally changing. What a beautiful scene. What an amazing fucking moment. This game is so incredible. I've only been on this side of the harbor for like 5 seconds, and we've gotten like just maybe one of the best scenes in the game so far. And we're still 1,000 hours away from completing the case. But I would be so like unhappy with this playthrough if I like wasn't capturing in my own psychological perspective why moments like this hit so hard. And what they can tell us about ourselves, and just how intuitively the authors of this game understood the human condition. I wasn't expecting an existential crisis this morning. I'm sorry if I gave you one. But I think that's where I'm going to pause it for this episode. What a beautiful, beautiful game this is.